other happenings around the league, because it has been 941 days since Klay Thompson played in an NBA game. And 941 days ago, a certain Mr. Ja Morant was still at Murray State University. He was undergoing knee surgery. And people were talking about the Grizzlies drafting him to come in and be a backup to Mike Conley. Now, who would have thought that 2 seasons later, Ja Morant is playing so well? When I tell BJ I'm watching the Grizzlies game, he's telling me, no, you're not. You're watching a Ja Morant show. He came to the game last night against the Los Angeles Lakers. Once again, it seems like he always shows up in these big games, or I don't know if it's a big game against the Lakers now, considering they're like barely a 500 team, but if LeBron James is there, it's a huge game. Shows up and once again leaves with the highlight of the night, and everyone's saying he's kind of the almost the most valuable player on the court. BJ, I know you've been waiting all evening to talk about this. What have you seen from Ja Morant this time around?
You know, I'm running out of words. I'm running out of descriptive words to really describe to the listener if you didn't get a chance to watch this young man, not only this season, but tonight in particular. When they say showtime in LA, tonight was show time, Mr. Ja Morant style. He brought all the smoke. He put on an incredible display of athleticism. You know, you talk about managing a game. Ja Morant right now is arguably the best point guard in the league. Mo, he's arguably right now the most dominant point guard in the entire NBA. And I'm saying this, and all due respect to, you know, Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, Kyrie Irving. Ja Morant right now, Mo, is in the conversation.
He's up there. I'm not taking him ahead of Steph, but he's up there.
He is up there, and we're gonna get a chance to see it here really soon, Mo. And you and I should be watching this game. But I'm just telling you right now, guys, besides being an incredible, you know, basketball player that he is, an individual basketball player, this is a very good team now. And they're playing great team basketball. And you can see now their momentum is starting to build. And why do I say that? Is because they're starting to win on the road.
9 games in a row.
Okay. And right now, guys, Ja Morant is a special player. You're not going to stop him. You can only hope to contain him now. They have a star. And if they continue to get contributions from their role players, the Jaren Jacksons, so forth and so on, this is going to be a very dangerous team. I'm really looking forward. I think it's coming up this week when they play the Golden State Warriors. I think this will be a measuring game. And when you say a game that has a lot of importance for Memphis, they can really make a statement to the rest of the league. So, you know, look out, guys, for this Memphis Grizzlies team. They're really playing terrific basketball, a really good team, and they're really fun to watch.
Because maybe I'm here to try to do the 30,000-foot view perspective. This might sound crazy. I think Ja Morant is not just important to the Grizzlies, obviously. I think he's really important to the league right now. I think he is. The league is in a place. We talked about after Steph Curry, the influence on Chase, the influence on the Warriors. I mean, it's bigger than that. I mean, the league has 2 superstars. It's Steph Curry, LeBron James. As far as I know, people are going to say, you know, they're going to start listing guys. Giannis. No, I'm talking about like box office. I'm talking about move the needle in the United States of America.
I call it. Even my mom knows who that is. LeBron James and Steph Curry.
Exactly. Giannis is incredible. He deserves to have my. I went over to my wife's family's place around the Christmas holiday. They don't know who Giannis is. You know, they know the guys they've heard of, obviously Curry, LeBron. You know, it's an elite group to get in there, right? Kobe, Michael Jordan. You know, it's an elite group to have that household name resonance. Giannis doesn't have it. It's not his fault. He's from a small Eastern European country. I think that's maybe a block. It's not his fault, but it's just the case. Ja Morant has that thing. He's got that thing. He's got that thing that Iverson had. He's got that charisma. There's something to him. And Nike is behind him. That's the other big thing. They did a whole ad campaign for him. They didn't do that for Giannis. Giannis won the championship. No Nike ad campaign for Giannis. They did one for Ja Morant. It's a good ad too.
This brings me on to what I was going to say is obviously Zion Williamson, who was drafted just ahead of him, has really been unfortunate with the injuries, but you've seen Jordan Brand in particular put out the Zion 1 signature sneaker, as you can see right behind me, the Zion 1 sneaker. They put a whole campaign. They got some fantastic documentary makers to make a fantastic documentary. It's called The Next Dance. Search on YouTube if you haven't seen it yet. I'm going to plug myself because it's my podcast. But my question to you, Ethan, because in your book that I've been reading, you speak a lot about the impact of sneakers and sneaker company on the NBA. You talk about Steph's Under Armour deal, Katie's business at Nike, and you go on to mention a bunch of the insiders at Nike. How far away are we, do you think, from seeing a Ja Morant signature sneaker? Because the signature sneaker club at Nike is very exclusive. But if Paul George has got one, I see no reason why Ja Morant doesn't have one.
That ad campaign, I think, tipped their hand that you're going to see it sooner rather than later. And like I said, it's a good ad. I think the slogan from it is "says who." A small market guy can't be a superstar, and he says who. That's the theme of it. I think if they're smart, they're going to bet on him because markets matter, but I think the player matters more and the story matters more. If you've got a story, what kind of market was Cleveland among the other markets? It doesn't matter. They had LeBron James back then, and they had LeBron's story. And so it's all about finding that story because I think we get lost in the weeds sometimes. If you know the league and inside and out, and you know the nuances, you forget that the general public needs some kind of story. That's how we relate to things. We relate to things through narrative. And so that's the thread Nike has to find in addition to making a really good sneaker is this is why you should pay attention to this guy out in Memphis, a city you're probably never going to go to, but this is the show you're going to have to see. Lucky for them with highlights like that block. That block that we saw tonight. A lot of it is
2 hands in the sky. Listen, that's crazy. Yeah. Some players go their whole career and maybe have one highlight that big. This guy's out here doing it week after week after week.
It's ridiculous, but it's something I always think about. It's hard to really figure out why some guys really pop and why they become household names and some guys don't. I don't know why Chris Paul can't really sell a jersey. Right? I don't know.
I think we know why. I think we all know why no one wants to wear a Chris Paul jersey.
I'm just saying, you would have thought when he was playing back in the day, early in his career, you would have thought that maybe he'd be one of those guys because, I could tell you any sort of rule for what people want. People want to buy shoes from, by shorter guys. They don't want them from centers. It's like, okay, well, Chris Paul. No, it doesn't work for whatever reason. We could go down the reason, but it's interesting who it works for and who it doesn't. I don't know anything. I just know that Ja Morant's one of those guys, or he can be one of those guys. Yeah. So his career right now for the NBA, which at the present moment has the kind of viewership that it almost had after Jordan retired when it took that nosedive. They're going to have LeBron and Steph age out eventually. Somebody's got to take that mantle. Like you were saying, it was supposed to be Zion. That's not really working. I think Ja Morant is the most important player for the NBA's future right now, as crazy as that might sound.
Now, that So What campaign is reminding me of the Russell Westbrook Why Not campaign. Now, Russell Westbrook, his latest sneaker advert, the advert begins with a jump shot missing, which fans have taken delight in mocking all over social media. But now we're seeing a lot of comparisons between Ja Morant and Russell Westbrook and even a young Derrick Rose. Now, BJ, from a basketball perspective, how close do you think Ja Morant is to reaching those levels? And even from a business perspective, how close do you think Ja Morant can get to peak Russell Westbrook? I don't know if he's quite close to surpassing that, but more importantly, Derrick Rose in his younger days, when he was doing his sneaker tours all over the world, how close do you think he can get to that?
BJ, go first, or should I go first on that?
Go ahead, Ethan. Go ahead.
Okay. It reminds me a lot of Rose because Rose, before the knee injuries, could sell a sneaker and do it for Adidas. It's not so easy to do. It reminded me a bit of Iverson with Reebok. Really I wouldn't say putting Reebok on the map, but for people of a certain age, I don't know, I don't know how old you are, Mo, but everybody wanted that when I was a teenager. Like everybody wanted that Iverson shoe.
I'm 27, and they actually have brought out
too young.
the retro Iversons now. Though they've retroed the question ones with Reebok, and they brought them back out. They released them last year, and people have been rocking them now.
Oh yeah, they're nice, and the ones that have the DMX cushioning, they called it, that kind of beehive look to it. I mean, you stop feeling it after day 2, but it looked nice. It was just a little something that people liked. He reminds me a lot of that. I think he's in that category. Westbrook would have been, but Jordan Brand, it's always difficult, right? It's always weird. It's like it's confusing because you're your own entity, but you're also under the Jordan umbrella. And I think it's harder to be a big time signature guy if you're with Jordan Brand. I mean, you sell sneakers, you'll sell some sneakers, they pay you. They make a nice mint over there at Jordan Brand. Michael Jordan makes I think something like $140 million a year off Jordan Brand. So they do okay, but I don't think you become the kind of cultural force. Yeah, he's right in there. And another sneaker guy I would think too reminds me of him, maybe has aged out of it a little bit, is Kyrie. Like that first Kyrie shoe really sold well. I think he can be like those guys. I mean, Derrick Rose had the Chicago thing that really helped. That story, right? And that's big market that he was playing at home.
And a superstar agent behind him.
Yeah, the whole thing. The whole thing. But I think again, I'm reiterating, I think he's the total package. You need some sort of story. You need some sort of story that somebody in my family that doesn't follow basketball but likes sports will go, oh yeah, that's the guy who. They need that. That's what they got to come up with.
BJ, on the court, how are you seeing this?
Well, you can't have one without the other. And I grew up as a young kid watching Julius Erving and Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, and Converse was selling sneakers. And the one thing that really captured the American audience in particular, and which went on to the global audience, was when Jordan came along, he captured the imagination. You wanted to go to the game because you were like, oh, I've never seen this before. Okay. And when I was listening to Ethan talk about he has that it factor, right? We always talk about he has it. I don't know what it is, but you hear people talk about it. And I don't know exactly what it is, but I know it when I see it. And when I first saw Derrick Rose play, I was like, he has it. They were like, what? Like, he can't shoot. They told me Ja Morant can't shoot. He has it. Jordan couldn't shoot, but he has it. And that it is, when a player captures the imagination of the audience, right? There are players and then there are performers. Like Steph Curry has captured the global imagination of anyone who watches. Just yesterday, I was at a basketball camp for like 8-year-olds, and I saw all the kids trying to shoot threes. And I was just laughing to myself because you can see Steph Curry has captured now the imagination. And everyone was like, oh yeah, shoot it like Steph. I heard like parents talking. And I was thinking to myself, like, when you see that, like tonight, I'm watching Ja Morant because you could possibly see something you've never seen before.
You see that lob? His whole head was above the rim.
And he had to like duck.
And that wasn't even the biggest highlight of the night.
Yeah, he's doing things now that, we're all saying, wow, how are we going to describe this guy? Who do we compare him to? Right now we compare him to Russell. No, he's not Russell. No, he's not Derrick Rose. Okay, Derrick Rose was a different player than Ja Morant. Ja Morant is the first Ja Morant. You're seeing someone now do something you just haven't seen. And what I mean, you haven't seen, he's in a small market. There was no expectations for him to make the playoffs. No one was thinking Ja Morant was going to take the league like this. You know, Derrick Rose came in with a lot of hype, and he delivered on the hype. And he did, like Ethan mentioned, he did sell shoes and he performed. But this young man is doing something entirely different. He's doing it in a small market. And more importantly, I mean, he's doing this in the Western Conference. And we always, you know, for the last 2 or 3 years, we keep saying the Western Conference is way stronger. And somehow, some way, he continues to shine on the biggest stage. Last year, they beat the Golden State Warriors for the play-in.
Yep.
I mean, this young man is performing. So he has the imagination now of an audience. People are going to watch him, and he's winning. And I think if he could do something big, he could peek into that stratosphere now.
I think that the Grizzlies could surprise a lot of people come the playoffs this year. If they can get to that conference finals there, they put the whole league on notice. But talking about
and Mo, and here's the most important thing, guys.
Go ahead.
You hear his name all the time now in the verses of all the rappers.
Yes.
I'm on my Grizzlies like Ja Morant.
Yeah, listen, that's important.
Because that's important. Mo, now he's affecting the culture. And that's the key. That's the key. You know, you started hearing Derrick Rose. You hear when you say Jordan, when you say LeBron, when you start hearing the rappers and the culture embrace you. When you say I'm on my Grizzly, everyone go, oh, that's Ja Morant. And just little things like that are beginning. You're starting to see this snowball roll and gain momentum as he goes about his business.